Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something pretty interesting coming out of the MegaETH community.
Yeah.
They recently rolled out this framework. They're calling them community personas.
Mm-hmm. And what really grabbed me about this announcement was their approach,
How so?
Well, instead of just like a generic sign-up list or whitelist, they actually took a step back.
Okay.
They sort of observed how different people were engaging with what they call the world computer.
Which is essentially the whole interconnected blockchain world, right?
Exactly. So they looked at everything. On-chain transactions, that's the recorded activity on the blockchain, building new apps, even like who shows up at community events.
Right. So they saw patterns in all that activity.
Yeah.
And from those observations, they've defined these 4 key personas.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal today is to really, dig into these roles, see what they tell us about the people driving crypto and Web3 forward.
It's definitely a much more nuanced way of understanding a community, I think. It's not just about what assets someone holds. It's about how they actively participate and contribute.
Totally. Okay, so let's get into these personas then. First one up is Diamond Hands.
Diamond Hands.
Now, this isn't just like your average crypto user. MegaETH calls them the power users within the on-chain world.
Yeah, think of them as the seasoned veterans of crypto.
Right.
They've built up these really extensive transaction histories across all sorts of protocols.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the rules governing different blockchain apps across different ecosystems.
Mm-hmm.
And they've ridden the waves, multiple market cycles. They've genuinely seen it firsthand.
So they're not just dipping their toes in, they're fully immersed.
Exactly.
And MegaETH actually highlighted a whole bunch of apps and communities that these Diamond Hands folks tend to gravitate towards.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, things like Pendle, Athena, Farcaster, Soframon, FriendTech, FantasyTop, Unlonely, Infinix, Jokerus, and Zero Xinfini. It's quite a list.
Wow, that's diverse.
Right.
What's interesting there is the variety. You've got like DeFi stuff like Pendle and Athena.
Yeah, the finance side.
It's pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
But then you also see social platforms like Farcaster and FriendTech, and even gaming and entertainment with FantasyTop and Jokerus.
Yeah.
It really suggests that Diamond Hands aren't just holding assets. They're actively like exploring and using all sorts of things across the whole on-chain landscape.
And it goes beyond just apps, too. They mentioned foundational protocols, things like Virtuals.io, EigenLayer, HiveMapper, Helium.
Okay, the infrastructure layers.
Yeah. And then there are the Trench Warriors. They specifically called out Solana and HyperLiquidX. What's the vibe with that name, Trench Warriors?
Yeah, Trench Warriors. It kind of evokes this sense of resilience, right?
Mm-hmm.
A strong belief in ecosystems that maybe have faced, more bumps in the road or public debate.
Right.
It implies a deep commitment, sticking with projects even when things get tough.
That makes sense. They also nodded to NFT communities like Milady Maker, Nouns DAO, Kimono Kaki, Crypto Dickbutts, RTFKT.
A real range there, too.
And people who minted the Read Write Own NFT. And, interestingly, even Tornado Cash donors.
Including Tornado Cash donors. That's significant.
What do you think they included that one?
Well, it probably highlights a segment of users who really prioritize, privacy and censorship resistance in crypto. Even with all the complexities and controversies around tools like that, it points to a core value for some people in this community.
So it really feels like the Diamond Hands persona is about way more than just HO dealing, right?
Totally.
It's about deep, active involvement, real experience across tons of different projects, and a strong belief in the potential of this tech and these communities, no matter what the market's doing.
Exactly. It's conviction shown through like consistent on-chain action.
Okay, great. Let's move to the next one. The Megamind.
Megamind. Okay.
This seems to shift the focus from the users to the folks more invested in the underlying technology itself.
Yeah. Think of them as the essential builders and thinkers kind of behind the curtain.
Right.
Megaminds are the people contributing to the fundamental layers of this world computer.
So like open source developers.
Open source devs, yeah, absolutely critical. Also, white hat hackers, the good guys finding security flaws.
Important work.
And also the educators creating content to help everyone else understand this, let's face it, pretty complex space.
They specifically called out critical open source contributors, which is great to see. And communities like BuildGuidle, Curtis CTF, and WeHack247, for listeners maybe less familiar, what do these groups do?
Okay, so BuildGuidle is really focused on teaching people how to build stuff in Web3, getting them started.
Ah, cool.
And Curtis CTF and WeHack 247 are all about these capture the flag events.
CTFs.
Yeah, basically cybersecurity challenges. They help find and fix weaknesses in systems. Super important for keeping everything secure and robust.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. They also mentioned research analysts, university blockchain clubs, and notably Zach XBT.
Ah, yeah, Zach XBT.
What does including him tell us about the Megamind persona?
Well, Zach XBT is this really well-known on-chain investigator, right?
Yeah.
He spends his time uncovering scams, holding bad actors accountable. Including him as Megamind really underscores how important trust, safety, and accountability are in this space.
Okay.
It's about protecting the integrity of the tech and the community.
So the Megaminds are kind of like the engine room crew, ensuring the tech is solid, secure, and that people can actually learn about it.
Yeah, exactly. They're the backbone, like MegaETH said.
Yeah.
They enable everyone else to participate with more confidence.
Right. They're often working away behind the scenes on the infrastructure that all the flashy apps rely on.
Precisely.
Okay, next up, architects.
Architects, okay.
This one feels like it's about the builders, the creators, the people actually making the on-chain apps and communities we interact with.
Exactly. Yeah, if the Megaminds are laying the foundation, the architects are designing and building the actual structures on top. They're the entrepreneurs, the creators, the artists, making Web3 feel, tangible for users.
They gave some examples of builder groups like founders from Alliance DAO, Seed Club HQ, Hadron FC, and builders from MegaZuzalu. What's the deal with these groups?
Okay, so Alliance DAO and Seed Club, they're DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations.
Right.
And they focus on investing in and supporting really early stage Web3 projects, kind of like incubators or accelerators.
Gotcha.
Hadron FC seems to be another community focused on supporting builders. And MegaZuzalu, that refers to the folks who gathered at the Zuzalu pop-up city event, which was known for fostering development in areas like privacy tech, decentralized social stuff, that kind of thing.
Interesting. They also specifically highlighted on-chain creators and artists and SheFi.org. What's the significance of calling those out?
Well, it really emphasizes the incredible range of things being built, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just finance tools. It's art, creative expression, community building, and maybe even tackling real-world issues, which could be what SheFi.org represents, focusing on practical blockchain uses, perhaps especially for women.
And MegaETH made a point of acknowledging the risks these founders and builders take. It's definitely not an easy path.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
They're pushing boundaries, often dealing with tech that's still evolving, navigating uncertain markets, and just the sheer challenge of getting users to try completely new ways of doing things online.
Yeah.
It takes guts.
No kidding. Okay, finally, the fourth persona, the kernel.
The kernel.
This seems to be about the core supporters, the early believers in MegaETH itself.
Yeah, think of them as the OGs, the original crew.
Right.
The kernel represents those folks who were there from, like, the very beginning.
Yeah.
Actively supporting the project through thick and thin,
Yeah.
the highs and the lows.
They mention early contributors, outstanding supporters full of big sequencer energy. Like that phrase.
Yeah, big sequencer energy. That probably refers to the really enthusiastic supporters, the ones super excited about MegaETH's specific tech.
Ah.
Especially maybe transaction sequencing, which is a key part of how some blockchains work.
And they also mentioned chubby bunnies.
Chubby bunnies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's almost certainly an affectionate, inside community nickname for dedicated members.
Okay.
It speaks to that strong sense of shared identity. That community bond.
Definitely. They also list Megamind quiz participants, regional bunny leads, people active in community stuff, attendees of their real-world events, like Hot Pot DAO, Mega Rave Brussels, Omega SG, World Computer Day in Bangkok, and also people who were in the Echo Sale. It sounds like a really wide range of engagement.
It really is. The kernel seems to encompass anyone who's actively chipped into the MegaETH community in a meaningful way.
Right.
Whether that's through intellectual stuff like the quiz, taking leadership roles as regional leads, joining activities, showing up in person, or even providing that early financial backing via the Echo Sale.
Yeah.
It just highlights that building a strong community needs all sorts of different contributions.
And MegaETH really emphasizes their crucial role. They call them the central powerhouse of the world computer and appreciate their conviction, their support, and even their constructive criticism. That last bit feels important.
Oh, absolutely. A healthy community needs that honest feedback to grow, right?
For sure.
Acknowledging that criticism is valuable. That shows, I think, a really mature approach from the MegaETH team.
So, okay. They've defined these 4 personas. They've confirmed their whitelist.
Yeah.
What's next for MegaETH then?
Right. So now they're looking at how best to actually launch their NFT collection on Ethereum mainnet.
Okay.
And they've basically outlined 2 options and are asking the community for input.
The first option is the classic first come, first served FCFS. What are the pros and cons they're probably thinking about there?
Well, the pro is it's pretty straightforward, right? Everyone on the list gets a shot when it goes live. But the big downsides are, well, gas wars. Transaction fees can just explode because of demand, pricing lots of people out.
Yeah, we've all seen that.
And then there's the whole issue with bots. Automated scripts just scooping up loads of the supply before real users get a chance.
Right. So what's the alternative they're considering?
The other idea is using a verifiable random number generator, an RNG model, applied to the whitelist.
How would that work?
So instead of a mad dash, the RNG would randomly pick a certain number of whitelisted addresses.
Okay.
And those selected people would then be eligible for the sale. It basically cuts down the risk of gas wars and makes it way harder for bots. Could lead to a fairer distribution.
That definitely sounds potentially more user-friendly. Less stressful, anyway.
Could be.
And they're putting it to a community poll to decide.
Yep. They're asking the community which model they prefer.
That seems smart. Shows they're actually listening, right?
Yeah. Involving the community in that kind of decision, it really backs up their stated values and acknowledges that, the launch experience itself really matters to the community.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've taken this deep dive into MegaETH's 4 community personas. We've got the deeply engaged diamond hands.
Yeah, the power users.
The tech-focused mega minds.
The backbone builders.
The creative architects building the apps and communities.
It's tangible.
And the foundational kernel, the early core supporters.
IOGs.
And by looking at these distinct roles, we get a much richer picture of all the different motivations and contributions in the wider Web3 world.
Absolutely. It really underlines that this whole space isn't just about code or money.
Right.
It's fundamentally about the people who are actively, shaping where it goes next.
Totally. It shows that a healthy Web3 ecosystem isn't just built on code. It's really powered by this vibrant, diverse community that participates and contributes in all these different ways.
Yeah.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Think about which of these personas kind of resonates with how you engage with Web3, or maybe how you'd like to engage. What role do you see yourself playing as this space keeps developing? It's definitely something interesting to consider.
For sure.
All right. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.